What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for moving forward. I'm also going to talk about some very important news involving Tesla, what's going on with the FOMC meeting and Jerome Powell. And I'm going to be breaking down some other important details about the FOMC meeting. I'm also going to talk about why there's a high probability that Jerome Powell might rug pull the markets when people least expect it. I'm not going to promise that, but I believe that there is a good chance of that happening based off what just was announced by the latest pieces of data. But before I break anything down about all this information, before I talk about why on earth that is, let me just say two things real quick. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. So anyways, let's talk about what's going on with Tesla. We got a little pump on Tesla making our way up to this 205 area. Then we rejected, and Tesla's just been trading sideways since in this 200 area. But the question is, how will Tesla move going forward and what's going to affect it? So earlier today, we actually had some important data that came out. We had the JOLTS job openings report, and it reported 9.55 million job openings for the month of September. This was hotter than expected on the consensus in the forecast, and when the data came out, the market popped a bit. Now, even though the overall jobs numbers are looking hot, this is always not the best of news for the bulls that are watching the markets. And that's because we have something very interesting going on. So, with the job openings being very strong, they're continuing to show strength. And that's the exact opposite of what Jerome Powell said that the Fed wants. So, this is making me believe that even though the Fed may not raise rates during this cycle for this month, for this FOMC meeting, there's a chance that Powell could say some hawkish things that may cause the market to freak out a bit. He could say that the Fed is open to raising rates again, possibly. He might still say that looking at the current data, and he may say that his move, whether they're going to do that again or not, is going to depend on data. And that could still spook the markets. There's a risk of that potentially happening. Why? Because once again, the GDP numbers were strong. Many Fed indicators are showing, as Jerome Powell has mentioned before, that inflation is still hot and the Fed is still very far from that 2% target. Inflation is very sticky. And on top of all of this, the jobs numbers are still very strong, which incentivizes the Fed to possibly raise rates again or remain a little bit more hawkish. That is why Jerome Powell might have a very stern tone. He may slow the market down, but it may not happen immediately. So here's how things are going to work out. Right now, the market is moving, kind of trading sideways, not doing that much, right? Well, at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the interest rate hike decision coming out. This is when the Fed is going to decide if they're going to raise rates or not. Okay, this is when they're going to make the big announcement. That's going to be the first thing that comes out. This will most likely not be a raise. You're most likely going to keep rates as is, excuse me, and they're going to likely give us more information. We're going to be watching to see what the forecast is for the Fed. Are they going to raise rates for longer in the future? Are they going to do anything like that? So watch that very carefully. Are they going to keep rates high for longer? Then after 2 p.m., right, we have this decision coming out. Then at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the press conference starting. That's when Jerome Powell is going to be giving his speech and answering the questions that many reporters have. This is going to be very important. Whatever Powell says is going to shake the markets, and there's an increased probability of him being a bit more hawkish because of the current jobs numbers and the data that just came out. All right, so just to be safe, all right, just as a reminder, the market's trading sideways. Expect a big reaction after the rate hike decision comes out at 2 p.m. And then we're going to see what the market does. Then Jerome Powell gives his speech, and we'll see what that causes as well for the stock markets. We're going to be watching these levels very, very carefully. So if Powell ultimately pumps the markets, hypothetically, let's just say he's dovish, if the Fed announces that they're going to pause officially or anything like that, the whole market could start pumping. Tesla can make its way back up to 208, then 210 if we see Powell pump the markets very hard. But if Tesla is actually doing something very different, if the market's actually not acting in this manner, and we're about to see something very different, there's a possibility that things could still change because we could be forming a nice flag on Tesla. If anything, if we're forming a flag on Tesla, and it's getting this rejection off of it, this can also be like a bearish signal for the stock. And with that being said, if Jerome Powell comes out and the guy just starts spooking the markets, he says something about how the Fed could raise rates again, they're going to be open to it. We could see Tesla continue to decline all the way back down to some very important support. So when you look at the weekly on Tesla, guys, I'd recommend always paying attention to this when you can. The weekly 200 EMA is key support for Tesla at 196. If Tesla loses that and we break and hold below it, watch 194, 193, and then 190 below that. Tesla could start sinking much lower if Powell causes the rug pull. The odds do favor Powell being a bit more hawkish, but just to be safe, we'll wait and see what he says. So make sure you're prepared, make sure you're ready, and we will see what Jerome Powell causes. If you see the market pop initially, don't fully trust the move because initially we just have the rate hike decision. Don't fully trust in the beginning, wait and see for confirmation. If Powell pumps the markets, watch SPY trying to push up to 422. If it breaks this, 424 is a possibility. If we end up sinking thanks to Powell, you're going to be watching this 418 support. If we lose this, it could come all the way down to 417 and then even lower levels than that. For now, guys, looking at how SPY is looking, uh, anything can happen depending on the rate hike and what Powell says. So just be open minded, remain calm, cool, and collected, and we will see what Jerome Powell announces. This is going to be very impactful for the markets. For the QQQ, if Powell ultimately pumps the markets, and I'm going to say one more thing about SPY I forgot to mention, but if Powell pumps the markets, we could see the QQQ go up for 356 plus. If he causes a rug pull, watch it come down to 350. Now, if we continue to sink below 350, there's a gap down here on the QQQ down to like 345. If we lose 350, I think there's a good chance we're going to fill that gap to 345, then bounce. So watch that very carefully. I forgot to mention this about SPY. Going back to SPY, guys, one last thing. SPY also has a gap all the way down to about this support down here. So it's going to be all the way down to this like 411 area. If we lose 416, we could sink to 415. If that breaks, watch 413.3. If we lose 413.3, we're likely going to fill this gap down to like the 410s. So watch that very carefully just to be safe. I just wanted to warn you about that in case Powell is hawkish. If he pumps us, we could keep going. So we'll just have to wait and see. On Nvidia, if Jerome Powell ends up tanking the markets, Nvidia could sink back down towards 405, if not 402 and 400. If Powell pumps the markets, we could see Nvidia push up very nicely to 425 plus. We're going to be watching this very carefully just to see what Powell causes. We're going to remain very calm as time goes on, and we'll just have to see how things look when Powell finishes his speech. Finally, for Apple stock, I just wanted to call out that Apple is still looking quite strong. It's trying to push up very nicely, approaching resistance at 172.6. If Powell pumps us, we're going to see Apple go to 173.5, then 174. If Powell causes the rug pull, Apple's going to come back down to this support line at 170. If we lose that, it's going to come down to 169.3, then 168. The odds do favor Powell, causing the market to slow a bit. So we're going to be very careful and watch this very carefully. But until then, please remain calm, cool, and collected and watch your levels very carefully. So once again, for the final warning, at 2 p.m., expect some high volatility thanks to the rate hike decision coming out. And at 2:30 p.m., it all comes down to Jerome Powell. Whatever he causes, whatever he says is going to have a big effect on the markets. So we'll be waiting to see what he ends up saying. All right, guys, that's it for now. Get ready, do what you have to do, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, get ready, be prepared, and peace out.